Welcome to From the Trenches, success shortcuts revealed by real-world innovators crushing it right now. I'm your host, Scott Hartley, and we're back with another episode packed with actionable strategies from today's most successful entrepreneurs. If you're tired of generic business advice and ready for real, cutting-edge tactics that are working right now, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into creating a customer experience like Disney in your business. And I can't wait to share with you the transformational insights from our guest. So I'd like to introduce you to Vance Morris. Vance helps business owners get, serve, and keep clients for life through creating experiences and response-required marketing without working harder. He is a former birth control factory security guard turned Disney leader. We've never had that person on our podcast before. Turned bankrupt out-of-work executive. Turned carpet cleaner, turned successful entrepreneur. So quite the journey that we're going to have to dig into here. But Vance is also a Walt Disney World Resort Management alumni, having spent 10 years as a leader in the resorts. He runs the only experience systems and direct response marketing business on the planet. Here he coaches companies to create experience service systems and then monetize them through direct response marketing. And Vance is also the longest reigning marketer of the year with GKIC, No BS, Magnetic Marketing. And he's also a Dan Kennedy Award winner. Vance, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, me too. And the crowd goes wild.
Awesome. So, okay, I got to know, like, this part that you gave to me. Former birth control factory security guard turned Disney leader. I need to know that how that transition happened
Quite the
there.
stretch, I know.
We got to know the background on that.
Sure. Well, it was a job I had during college. My roommate and I literally worked for a birth control factory in New Jersey for some summers, and yeah, I mean, I can't make it up.
Right.
It is part of my resume. But and then after graduating, I spent a year working for a restaurant and then immediately went to Disney. So it wasn't an abrupt transition.
Gotcha.
And I was not providing prophylactics to, the Disney characters or anything like that. It was just
yeah, it was just a summer job there. Yeah, awesome. So, like, you've got, a wealth of experience when it comes to customer service, things that you've learned from Disney, things that you have taken and applied in your own businesses, especially your carpet cleaning business. And then now you're teaching that to entrepreneurs. And in my experience, and I know you and I have had conversations about this, before, but it seems like today that customer service, customer experience, good customer service and customer experience is lacking in so many different businesses and industries today. What's kind of your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, the barrier to entry here is really low. And the barrier for you to shine in your industry or in your town is also very low. I mean, if you just look at the number of companies that no longer answer their phone, or the ones that put you into a 16-step phone tree,
Yeah.
and there's like 3 guys working at the shop. It's amazing. It really is. I've called companies, and it's like the first thing I tell them to do is answer your phone live.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to voicemail, you've lost that customer. Because if you're one of 6 plumbers in Poughkeepsie, and you don't answer the phone, they're just going to the next one on the Google rankings.
Yeah.
So it's insane. I'll tell you real quick. So I'm a partner in a call center, and when we were doing our market research, we called 4,000 home service companies. 4,000. And the way we got the numbers were from Google pay-per-click. So people that were paying to have ads on Google, paying to have their phone number published. 17% answered the phone live.
Wow.
17%. So how many people just flushed money or send me the money. I'll spend it better than Google will.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
But yeah,
so,
no, the it creating a customer experience is the only separator for businesses out there.
mhm,
Um, I mean, if you're a dentist and you're competing against all the other dentists in your town, I mean, there's only so many ways to clean teeth, Scott. I mean, it's like one or two, right? You get the little
right.
brush, you get the little fire hose thing that they squirt in there. Um, so what separates dentist A from dentist B?
Hmm.
It's the
That
in-office
experience.
experience.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that down, if you're just like anybody else, you're going to get you're going to get shopped. People are going to leave,
Hmm.
because they're going to go to wherever it's cheapest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a race to the bottom at that point if you don't have some differentiator. So, kind of talking about so if there are businesses that they don't answer their phones live, having a call center is a good stopgap measure if you don't have enough revenue at this point to hire a receptionist or call taker. Use a call center so somebody can take that call live and then pass that on to somebody at your shop. Does that?
Well, you if I mean for I mean I'll just take my carpet cleaning business for instance. So if I didn't have somebody answering my phone live, I'd be losing thousands of dollars every month.
Hmm.
So this guy pays for himself. Um, all he's got to do is schedule 4 jobs for 1 month, and his entire pay for the month is covered.
Wow.
4 jobs.
Poor
It's
jobs.
nothing. you
Yeah.
know. So how much would I lose if he wasn't answering the phone?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
it's
yeah,
amazing that
it's not. It
we,
shouldn't be looking at oh, I can't afford it. I mean, you can't afford not to. I mean, just think
yeah.
about all of the calls that you missed, and if you've got a higher ticket, service,
Hmm.
maybe you're in kitchen and bath remodeling, maybe you're in plastic surgery, and if you're not being, if you don't have the phone answered live, you could be missing out on thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know it was about a year ago. I had a situation here at my house where I had a water leak outside, and I needed to have somebody quickly come and take a look. What's it going to take to repair it and get it fixed? It wasn't something that I wanted to wait and hope that I got a call back because a lot of people don't call you back anymore, even if you do leave a voicemail message. And so, I first couple people I called, voicemail, no answer, just rang and rang. Like I went on to the next until I actually got somebody that answered the phone live. So yeah, that's really, really key. So something that you mentioned was like, the dentist office, for example, and this obviously can be applied to a lot of businesses. I know you've done this with your carpet cleaning, but does it have to be really complicated to create a unique customer experience that sets you apart?
not at all, not at all. And quite frankly, I mean, people ask me, okay, well, what do I have in common with Disney? I mean, I don't own a theme park, I don't own a roller coaster, I don't have a cast of characters. Why on earth do I want to copy what Disney's doing? And you really don't, unless you do own a theme park or a roller coaster, you don't want to copy what Disney's doing. But what you do want to do is adapt their strategies to your industry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, just think of all of the misconceptions, preconceived notions, um, all the bad stereotypes of your industry. What are they? And then figure out a way to flip those around and turn them into a positive for you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of ours was, uh, you know, never showing up on time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a on-time guarantee. That's part. So the experience doesn't have to be an actual physical thing,
Mm.
or something that they, touch and see, but it could also be, oh, you mean you have an on-time guarantee? Wow, what's that mean? Oh, well, we'll be there, but instead of between, 8 and 5, like the phone company tells you, well, we'll be there between 12 and 2. And
Hmm.
if we come outside of that window, then you'll get a nice $50 discount um, off of your bill.
Hmm.
So we put skin in the game.
Yeah.
But the thing with doing it is looking at all of the boring. So this is what Disney's done well, is they've looked at all of the boring, mundane things that they have to do in their business day in and day out and figured out a way to create an experience. So if you call Disney, you'll get somebody who's answering the phone in a manner that they don't answer the phone anywhere else like that.
Hmm.
Disney pays fanatical attention to detail, which is something that every business should be doing. I mean, every detail is speaking something about your business. So
Hmm.
if I go to the dentist, I'm sorry to pick on these dentists, but if you go to the dentist office and they got dusty houseplants in the waiting room, well, geez, what does that say about the instruments that they're going to be putting in my mouth?
Yep.
Um, so it's that level of attention to detail. Marge at the front desk. How is she greeting people when they come in?
Hmm.
Is she kind of like looking up and grunting at them like they're an interruption to her day, or is Marge getting her butt up out of her chair, walking around saying, "Hey, welcome to Dr. Fred's," uh, you know, uh, practice. Here's a form to fill out. And oh, by the way, we have this beautiful, fancy coffee machine thing. Whatever, you just tell it what you want and it'll make it. I
Hmm.
mean, it's the difference right there.
Yeah. And, you know, just taking the time to think through those little things can make the biggest impact. And if you look at Disney, I mean, obviously they do some things on a grand scale, they have to, but they do so much on the minutia that it's like, those little things that you wouldn't ordinarily notice, but yet you do.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and it's the things that you don't notice, and that's intentional. You
Yeah.
know, you don't notice trash because there isn't any, but you don't notice, unless you're kind of looking for it, that it's actually a very clean place. It's
Mhm.
just, you don't notice, weeds growing
Mhm.
anywhere. Well, they might have one or two, but you just don't see it because they don't have any for you to see. So there's nothing to detract from the overall experience. And that's going back to the details. Every detail in your business is either enhancing or detracting from the experience. There is no middle ground here.
Mhm.
So, go back to the dusty houseplant. Is that thing enhancing or detracting from the experience?
Yeah.
Marge at the front desk, is she enhancing or is she detracting? There is no middle ground when it comes to this stuff. So you have to be very intentional on what details you're going to focus on. And if you knew which details to focus on that would give you the most bang for your buck in customer retention, price, do they buy extra services? Do they buy extra packages and things like that? I would hazard a guess you'd be willing to spend a lot more time on that detail if you knew it had some monetary value to you.
Yeah. And speaking of, if you knew if it had that monetary detail, Disney's a large enough company that we know that they're tracking data, that they're looking at all of these different metrics and everything to figure out like, what do we need to improve? How can we shorten the wait time for rides and, make that experience even fun while you are waiting, 60, 90 minutes for a ride? How can we translate that to our business? How can we find that stuff out?
Well, the waiting part, I mean, now that's a science. Disney has got waiting in line. I mean, they got it down like nobody's business. And if you find a ride that has 60 to 90-minute wait, go stand in line because that'll be the shortest wait you got the entire day you'll be there.
Yeah.
Um, but so Disney has this way of compressing time and making time not feel so long. And they've invented something that's called linertainment, where they entertain you while you're in line, so it doesn't feel like that's all you've done is stand there. So, they've got people that are serving drinks in line. There's interactive games that you can play while you're in line. Actually, waiting in line is part of the show. So, like if you
Hmm.
skip the line going into the Haunted Mansion, well, you've missed a lot. You've missed the tombstones and the organ that plays the spooky movie and shoots the water out and interacting with any of the cast members that are standing in line. You kind of miss stuff. And once you get through it, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Hmm.
So the carryover to our business is, all right, well, what do people have to wait for in your business? Do they have
Hmm.
to wait for a proposal? Do they have to wait for a product to come in from wherever it comes in? So what are you doing to make that wait not feel so long? Do you send them a postcard? Do you call them and update them, every few days on tracking the package? Do you give them a little tracking code and they can watch their, new kitchen cabinets, and how they're coming through the US on a train and they can literally watch it on a map? Those are the kinds of things that you can do to make it not feel like the wait is so long.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is uh, you know, under over. I always get it backwards. Under promise, over deliver. So like Disney, you'll go and it'll say, okay, 75-minute wait.
Hmm.
And you're like, okay, well, 75 minutes. And then you get to the front of the line in 60 minutes. You're like, ha, I nailed those suckers. I got them at their own game. I got in 60 minutes, not 75. Well, I hate to break it to you. They added 15 minutes to the wait so
Yeah.
that they could over deliver and under promise. And so doing the same thing, it makes your customers feel like they won the lottery.
Yeah.
I got it. You know.
Yeah. So can we like use like customer data that we may have to figure out like areas of improvement? Like, is it worth doing surveys to our customers, like finding out what their pain points were or what they would like to see in our business so that we can then implement maybe some of those changes?
Yeah, I think they have to be done properly. And I am not the survey guy, but they've got to be meaningful questions.
Hmm.
And, I mean, I'm a big fan of Net Promoter Score. I mean, it's really the only metric you need to manage the business. And if you're not a 4 or a 5, you got some work to do, buddy.
Hmm.
And because it's all about, referability,
Yeah.
would you recommend us to somebody else? And that's huge.
Hmm.
um and so you can measure the things that you think are important to people, like I know for us, technicians being on time is very important. So
Hmm.
that's one of the things we worked. I mean, through our scheduling software, through our routing software, we were able to, we can send technicians, all different directions, in our area, and they with the intention that they're going to be able to be on time. So
Hmm.
there's a plumbing company, the On Time Plumber. I think it's Ben Franklin Plumbing. It's a
Oh, yeah.
franchise.
Yeah.
But they've got the 60-minute guarantee. And
Hmm.
it's not a gimmick, but I mean, it's a shtick, but it does separate them out.
Hmm.
So yeah, finding those things that, irritate the living daylights out of people, even out of yourself. I mean, think about it. When you go to a restaurant, what irritates the living daylights out of you at a restaurant?
Yeah.
And you're like, and okay, so you list them all out and like, okay, well, um, we're not doing this, in my company. And you do have your employees do it.
Hmm.
Ask them, okay, what do you hate most about going grocery shopping? Or what do you hate most about going to the dentist or wherever? And then you relate all of those answers back to your business. And you go, okay, well, you guys hate it when people ignore you. Fine. We are not going to ignore people. We're going to look them in the eye when we're talking to them. We're going to respond within a certain amount of time to emails. We're going to answer the phone in X number of rings. You see how this works? I mean, you got to look
Hmm.
at all of those things that annoy the snot out of us. And okay, you eliminate it's eliminating the friction.
Yeah.
It's making that, get rid of all of those barriers to the sale, get rid of all those barriers to service.
Hmm.
And you don't even have to create anything. Just eliminate the bad stuff, and you're going to be light years ahead of everybody.
Yeah. And like you said, the bar is very low on that nowadays. I mean, you just eliminate, two or three of those points and people will be like raving about you because you're so different. So one of the things that, that being exceptional with your customer service, and we see this with Disney. I think I just read a news article on this past week. I think they're raising their ticket prices yet again, but that's not going to hurt them most likely, because the people who love Disney love that experience. They're going to go back no matter how much that ticket is. So talk to us a little bit about, when you have this spectacular customer service, you're meeting their needs, you're delivering something to them that they really enjoy. What does that allow you to do for your business? Obviously you could raise your prices, but what else does that mean?
Well, you have a tremendous price elasticity, and Disney knows it. So they know that they've got a product that people want. It's not a must have. I mean, it's not like if you don't go to Disney, you're going to die. That's not going to happen. So, people still do it though, because it's the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney knows. So, I mean, Disney has been raising their prices consistently now for God knows how many years. I mean, decades.
Yeah.
And couple of reasons they've increased it significantly was to try to get people not to go. I mean, they're trying to thin the crowd out so that the people that do go have a good time, because there's nothing worse than being crammed with 79,000 other people in the Magic Kingdom. It's a miserable experience, especially in July. Nobody
Yeah.
wants that. But if they were able to whittle out 10,000, 15,000 people by raising the price, unfortunately, it's not working. There's people are still going,
Right.
Um, but for us, when you have higher prices, you can do nicer and better things for your customers. You can have an on-time guarantee. You can give them gifts. You can have them experience things that they can't experience anywhere else. I'll give you an example. So, okay, I'm not going to pick on a dentist. I'm actually going to, this is a great story about a dentist.
Okay.
And as we mentioned before, what separates one dentist from another?
Mm-hmm.
Because teeth cleaning is essentially commoditized. So she was a dentist in a building with 8 other dentists. So not even in her whole town, but just in her building were 8 other dentists. And, she accepted insurance, and she was, getting, all the time price quoted. There was nothing that separated the 8 of them or 9 of them in that building.
Mm-hmm.
And she was killing herself. She says, we got to be able to do something. I said, well, raise your prices. So, oh, I can't do that. I said, yeah, sure. Let's create something where you can raise your price so that it makes sense for you. And so we did a whole exercise, and we found out, it took a little while, but found out that her favorite movie was Peter Pan. And so we decided she would become the pirate dentist. And she dresses up as Captain Hook. So again, it's not a big expense. Go get a Captain Hook costume and start wearing it. All of the dental assistants are dressed like Mr. Smee. They walk around the office all saying "arg," and she's now known as the pirate dentist. Now what? And she's only now doing pediatric dentistry, so she's niched. So she's eliminated a big, huge hunk of the population
Yeah.
that she will not serve, and she's now a pediatric dentist. And she was able to, one, raise her prices. Two, she stopped taking insurance and became just private pay.
That's
That
huge.
allowed her to eliminate 2 staff positions, because she had 2 people on board who just did insurance billing. That's
Yeah.
all they did. It took 2 people. So she's now 2 people less, and all that money is in her pocket.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Now, I mean, and people want to line up, and she's known as the pirate dentist down in
Yeah.
Florida. And it's just amazing what she's been able to do. So, creating experiences allows price elasticity. which then generates, word of mouth. I mean, your business now becomes tellable.
Hmm.
I mean, think about, the question, let's see, I know, Scott, tell me if you've ever had this conversation. You go home, and you sit down with the family for dinner and you say, you'll never guess what happened at the dentist today. That conversation doesn't happen anywhere.
Right. Right.
I mean, oh yeah, went to the dentist, my teeth are clean, whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, but had you gone to the pirate dentist and you say, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened at the dentist today. We were in there and Captain Hook came to visit and I got to watch Peter Pan on the screen while I was laying down and they had this big shipwreck playground thing in the waiting room that, little Bobby got to play on, yada, yada, yada. Now that's word of mouth marketing.
Hmm. Yeah. And just imagine the kids, they're talking about it at the school, oh, I went to the dentist yesterday. And instead of it being a horrible experience, it's like, oh, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God, you got to go check out the playground at the dentist office,
yeah, yeah. So really thinking through of, those things, but it gives you the opportunity to do so much more in your business that can really allow you to stand out. When you've got those exceptional customer experiences. And I had a situation recently with I won't name them, but they are a very large retail corporate chain. They have stores in almost every city in the country. And you could tell that the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. And it was an obstacle. I was going in to file for get a tax exemption certificate for our nonprofit, for one of the nonprofits that I'm a part of. And like the front desk people were telling me, oh, you have to have letterhead with your state tax exempt certificate. And then you also have to go online and fill out this form and then print that out and bring that back with you. And so then I ended up having to call corporate. And then even once I got corporate involved, front end staff still weren't like in line. And it was just kind of a nightmare. And I told the store manager, I said, how many people would just give up? How many people would just go to Target or somewhere else and do their business there rather than try to fight through this mess? And I said, I'm one of those people that I will pay more to have a seamless and spectacular customer experience than have to jump through a bunch of different hoops and hope that I get the right resolution. And I said, I feel like I'm not alone, in that. I know that there's millions of other people that all they want is just to be able to get whatever service or whatever product it is that they're looking for to get that delivered to them without having a bunch of problems.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, now look at Amazon. Now Amazon has really, made business owners step up their game because we get compared, everybody gets compared to them. Amazon now they'll deliver in 2 hours now,
Yeah.
and so I mean, there's an expectation of instant stuff
Mm-hmm.
and a seamless, as you said, a seamless transaction. You go on the website, you click, 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 hit checkout, boom, done. And 2 hours later, the stuff's showing up on your front porch. So, as business owners, we have to realize that, we are also compared to everybody else in our business.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that Harley Davidson is a major competitor to Disney?
Really? No. How
Major
so?
competitor to Disney because they're going after the same discretionary dollars that families have to spend.
Okay.
Mama wants to go on a Disney vacation. Daddy wants a new hog. Who's
Yep.
going to win this argument? They're both the same price,
Yeah.
40 grand for the hog, 40 grand for a Disney vacation. Who's going to win it? So you are compared to everyone. So
Mm.
it's crazy. So I went to one of those big box, I'll name them because I don't care. I have Lowe's, the blue guys,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, in line, and I'm not handy with tools, by the way. So I just had like a shovel, some dirt, a couple of plants, and I was just gonna I can dig a hole.
Yeah.
So I watched the two guys ahead of me with the cashier, and I noticed that the cashier was not saying anything to the customers. No, hi, how are you? No, good morning. No, did you find everything okay? Nothing.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to get her to say something to me. I'm not going to be the first one to say anything. Um, and so I get up and, she starts to scan my stuff, and she had every opportunity to say good morning or, mighty nice shovel you have there. Nothing. And, and it was like, I mean, it's like a 90-second to 2-minute interaction.
Yeah.
You know what it's like trying to stand in somebody, you're 2 feet away from them and not say anything.
Yep.
And I even tried to get her to say so. I gave her the big googly eyes. I was looking right at her, eyes wide open. Nothing. The criminal thing, though, was that her manager was standing 2 registers down and his face buried in his phone. Now, she needs to be retrained. The manager needs to be fired and taken out in the parking lot and set on fire. You got to make an example of him. And so I decided I was going to do an unscientific test. And I went out and I said, I am not going to be the first one to say anything in any place I got to go on my errands for that day. So, I mean, I went to some mom and pop places, national franchises, etc.
Hmm.
6 out of 9 businesses, I had a wordless transaction.
Wow.
6 out of 9, the employee said nothing to me.
Hmm.
And I made it a point not to say anything. So it just made it more uncomfortable. It would have
Yeah.
been 7 out of 9, except that I had to order the Happy Meal for my kid. So,
So you had to talk
but,
there, you know?
but if your business was stop number 9 on my day, I'd be comparing you to a Big Mac. I'd
Yeah.
be comparing you to an oil change. And how is your business going to fare against a Big Mac and an oil change? Do you want to be, do you want to be looked at as, oh my God, it was pretty nice going to the financial planner's office today. They had coffee and they were nice to me and they didn't have old magazines and whatever. You know, everybody is your competitor. You get compared to everyone. So
Yeah.
you can't say, oh, I got a great reputation in the carpet cleaning world. Great, but if you still suck with your customer service, you're still getting compared to everybody else.
Yeah. And, the stories that we've shared here today, these are things that stick in our mind and they stick in the minds of everybody. We remember, oh, we went to that store and they didn't talk to us when we checked out. And if that is a habitual type of thing, that now becomes what we think of that particular business. And so just changing like that one little thing, retraining the staff, have that conversation. I went to the grocery store. I had the same experience with you. It was a couple weeks ago. I'm standing there checking out, and the lady doesn't say a word. I only have 3 or 4 items, but great opportunity to have positive interaction.
Or the ones the grocery store is the worst because they got somebody at the register right 6 feet away from them, and they're having a conversation, and I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my the hours got reduced. Oh, what do you think about Fred over in the meat department? I'm like, shut up,
Like, get me out of here.
get me
So,
out of here.
so before we wrap up here, what's maybe a couple other things that we can learn from Disney, things that you've taken away, because I know you used to run one of the restaurants there at Disney. What are some of the other things that we might can apply in our businesses as well?
Yeah, certainly. We didn't touch on employees at all today. I am by no stretch an employee expert. Um, But I will tell you this, if your employees are not having a good experience, there is no way they can deliver one to your customers. So you
Mhm.
have to start with them. You really do. So I mean, if you're beating them up, if you're cheap with your pricing, if you're not adding any value to their life other than just giving them a paycheck, you're going to have high turnover and they're not going to do what you want them to do when it's time to serve the customer. I'm not, this is not saying you've got to baby them and, they can put you over a barrel and demand things. No, no, it's not what I'm talking about. I'm like, it's are you paying them above average wages?
Hmm.
Because if you're charging enough in prices, you can pay above average wages or even great wages for your industry.
Hmm.
Um, what are the working environments like? I mean, if you got vehicles, are the vehicles clean? Do they go in and they sit in the van and they're all scrunched up because there's like nasty stuff all over the dashboard, and or do they get in and they're proud of their vehicle? Hey, it's
Hmm.
nice and clean, and so making sure that that employee experience is there and is positive is really, if you have employees, that's the first step. You got to make sure that's taken care of.
Hmm. And kind of going back to the dentist that you were talking about, where she's known as the pirate dentist, but she's got her entire staff on board, and you creating that customer experience. They're having a good time because they're part of that act, so to speak, and creating that persona for them.
Well, I mean, who doesn't want to have fun? I mean, I get it. It's work. Work needs to be done, right? But
Yeah,
tell me this, we all know it. Time flies when we're having a good time. But
yeah,
when we're drudging and wet and crawling and scraping, boy, I mean, that day just drags on.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, people do want to enjoy themselves
Hmm.
at work, or at least not be annoyed
Yeah.
at work.
And like you said, if they're having a good time, that's going to exude out into their interactions with your customers as well. So
100%.
fantastic. Well, I know that you've written a book, and you're willing to give out digital copies of that. Tell us just a little bit about systematic magic and what's in that, and what we can apply to our businesses.
Sure. This is a blueprint to doing everything we just talked about. So systematic magic is 7 magic keys to Disneyfy your business, how to outserve, outmarket, and outprice your competition. Um, Trust me, if you just follow what's in the book, your business is going to be taking off like a rocket. It's almost like a little mini workbook. So when you get it, you're going to need, well, if you get the digital version, you can't really write on it, but if you get the print version, you can write in it and take notes, and there's places for you to come up with your own ideas. Um, and it really is. I wrote it as a blueprint so that you could take some of the strategies, take a tactic, and implement them and see immediate results.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And I tell you what, if I think you've got a way on your website, correct me if I'm wrong, but where people can get on your newsletter list as well. So we'll put the links into the show notes. But I tell you what, you definitely need to be on Vance's newsletter list. He's got exceptional content, things that you can immediately apply in your business. And in today's environment, standing out is just so imperative. Anytime that you're potentially facing, any type of economic downturn, any time where, people are like deciding what they're doing with their dollars, when you can create that experience, because people buy on emotion first and then justify by logic. If you've got that emotional experience that they can go to and be like, this is the best use of my money, you've won them over, and that it's going to make a huge difference and set you apart from your competition. So Vance, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing your insights.
I appreciate you having me, Scott. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Well, that's all for today's episode of From the Trenches. And before we wrap up, make sure that you go to Vance's website and grab your copy of his book, Systematic Magic. We'll put the links in the show notes so you don't have to try to remember that here. And if you're looking to supercharge your email marketing, check out my book, Hit the Inbox, at hittheinboxbook.com. It's packed with 76 pages of strategies to get your emails landing in inboxes and driving sales. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. It helps us reach more entrepreneurs like you. And until next time, keep crushing it in the trenches.